Welcome back on Physics 2. We're still gonna continue with our lesson for the test 2 preparation. And today we're gonna talk about Unit 6. As we discussed previously, we discussed about Unit 5, and now we're gonna focus on Unit 5. But on this video, what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna explain the 5 concepts that we need to keep in order for us to solve our problem. So as you can see, we changed the format. Now we're gonna introduce our Unit 6, where we explain each concept that will be required for you in order for you to solve the problem. And then we're gonna introduce the problem solving, whereby we're gonna choose maybe 3 or 6 questions, and then we can make them, let's say, a series of 2 videos just for problem solving. So the first concept that we are going to discuss is the uniform circular motion. The concept is really simple, but we just want to explain it so that you understand what is it about. And it's all about, we have a circular motion, so which means we have a circle. So we can see that every time there is a motion, we're going to have a speed. And then we know that our speed is given by what? The distance over time. Okay? But remember, we are dealing with a circular motion. What will be our distance here? It's going to be the circumference. So what is the circumference of a circle? So we say our distance is going to be the circumference of a circle, which is given by 2 pi the radius. And therefore, we can come into our problem and then we say 2 pi r. Okay? So what about the time? So remember, it's a circular motion. If, for instance, this person starts moving from this point, so he make the first revolution, okay? And then he made another revolution. You can see that we have a period that will be involved here. So now we can come here, we say, the time is the period at which this person is rotating, or this car is rotating in a circular motion, okay? So what about the revolution? So when we talk about in terms of revolution, it's all about the period is going to be given by 1 over the number of revolution. For instance, if they say this car turn twice in a circular motion, what do we say? We say 1 over 2. So we can determine the period of this person, okay? Or either way, they can ask us to determine what will be the revolution of this specific person at a specific time. So what we need to keep here in mind is that we just want to keep this. The period is given by 1 over the revolution, and as well our speed will be given by 2 pi r of the period. These are the only formula that we need to keep for this concept. And then on the second concept, we need to keep in mind is the centripetal acceleration. So I will try to explain again what is it about so that you know when you are dealing with it. So as we explained, we have a circular motion. Previously we talked about the uniform circular motion, whereby you are having a specific object that was rotating in a circular motion. This is our center, okay? But remember, this guy is moving at a specific uniform speed. So you can say this is the initial time at a initial speed at the initial time, okay? So, in definition, our centripetal acceleration is any change in velocity vector, even if it is only a change in direction, mean that the acceleration is occur. So with this object that is moving at a specific speed, if there is a change in velocity or there is a change in the direction, which means there is an acceleration that occur on that object. So for instance, if I write it in blue, if it moves until this point, and then it changes from the initial to the final velocity. Can you see that? Already you're going to have an acceleration, which is going to be the centripetal acceleration. And in that case, if this object changes, the velocity moves to here, automatically as well you're going to have the centripetal acceleration. Okay? So let's take this part, whereby the object moves from this point to this point, and understand how do we get our formula. So we come here, we remove this part, and then we're gonna prove the formula of the centripetal acceleration. Okay? So the first thing that we have in mind is, remember we have a circular motion. Okay? So this here in the triangle, this is the arc length. the arc length is the same as the distance. And the distance is given by what? The velocity times the change in time. Remember, in order for this object to move from this point to this point, there was a specific time. So it has a velocity and time involved. And then we have what? The radius and as well the radius, and then we have a specific angle. Okay? So from our math 1, we remember that the arc length was always given what? Arc length was always given by what? By, if you apply, for instance, we apply our SOHCAHTOA. We are looking for this angle. Okay? Let's apply our SOHCAHTOA so that we can prove it very well. So we come here, we divide by 2, and I have what? An angle divided by 2, and then an angle divided by 2. So that when you apply sine in this triangle here, so you're going to be what? The opposite side is going to be what? Sine of theta over 2 is going to be given by the speed change in time divided by the radius. Okay? First equation we're going to keep. The second equation is whereby we consider that it changes the direction. We have a change in velocity. This was then changing in time. So we come here. Now we have a change in velocity. So we have the velocity, and the change in velocity. So this angle here remains the same in both cases. Okay? So if you apply, you divide again this triangle in 2. And then this triangle, because it's an isosceles triangle, and therefore if you apply again your sine here, it's going to be sine of the angle divided by 2, going to be given what? The change in velocity divided by the velocity. Okay? So now, what we are going to do, we are going to take this part, we equal the 2. So we're going to have the velocity, the change in time, divided by the radius will be given by the velocity, change in velocity over the velocity. Okay? And therefore, if you apply your mathematics here, you're going to have the change in velocity over the change in time will be given by the velocity squared over r. Okay? So the change in velocity over the velocity, the change in time, this is our acceleration, centripetal acceleration. Centripetal acceleration is the change in velocity and as well in change in time, as we stated in another definition, and therefore we're going to say our centripetal acceleration will be given by the velocity squared over r. And that's it. And then we're going to talk about the centripetal force. By definition, is the net force required to keep an object of the mass moving at a speed v on a circular path or radius. It has a magnitude. So as I state here, if we have an object, let's say for instance we have a car, it's moving on a circular motion. So the force that is going to keep this object, okay, to be in this circular motion, for it to not fail or to do any accident, this force is going to be our centripetal force. And as we say, it's the net force required to keep an object of a mass. So this object has a mass, okay, and then it's moving at a specific speed, in a circular speed of a radius. So we have a radius as well involved there, okay. So what is it given by? Our centripetal force is given by mass velocity squared over the radius, okay. But remember, our acceleration, our centripetal acceleration is given by what? It's given by the velocity squared over r. And then if you observe here, you will see that here is our acceleration, centripetal acceleration. And therefore, this will be the same as acceleration, mass times acceleration of the centripetal force. Okay? So the two equations is the same. So what you are going to keep here is that our centripetal force is given by mass velocity squared over r, which is the same as mass of the centripetal acceleration. So this is what you need to keep in mind when it comes to this problem solving. Okay? But remember, this object, when it's moving on the object, which means we're going to have a coefficient of frictional. Okay? And therefore, our centripetal force will be the same as the friction force, because this force that maintains it is going to be the centripetal, the friction force. And therefore, the friction force, the kinetic friction force will be given by what? The kinetic, coefficient of kinetic times the net force. Okay? And then remember, our net force is given by what? Therefore, we're going to say our centripetal force is going to be mass acceleration of gravity of the kinetic friction. This is in the case when they state that in our problem we have a friction, therefore our centripetal force will be given by that equation on this object. And then we're going to talk about the bank curve. What is it about? It's all about if you have a car that is moving in a circular motion but it's banked. Okay? There is an inclination. Okay? And automatically, if there is an inclination, what do we have? We have a net force involved. And then we have our net force which will be in that position. So you have a net force. Okay? But remember, we have the y and x axis, and this is going to be our y axis, and then you have your x axis. And then we are given a specific angle at which this car is inclined. Okay? So therefore, automatically, what happened? You're going to have a net force in x. And then our net force in x is going to be given by what? It's going to be given by sine of theta. Because if you come in this triangle here, if you have to project this net force in x here, it's going to be opposite. So it's sine. Therefore, for the y-axis, our net force is going to be given by cos theta. Okay? So, but remember that we are moving under a circular motion. A circular motion, our centripetal force is where? Is in the middle here. You have your centripetal force. Okay? And then automatically, the centripetal force in y, in x, is going to be given by what? The centripetal force in x is going to be given by the net force sine theta. It's going to be the same as mass velocity squared over r. This is when you are in the x-axis. But in the y-axis, remember the y-axis is going to have a weight. So therefore, our centripetal force in the y-axis is going to be the net force cos of the given angle of which is going to be equal to the same as the mass of J of the gravitational speed. And therefore, we call the two centripetal force, so that's going to get a given angle there. So we come here, and then we say the Fn sine theta divided by the net force cos. So you're going to have the ratio of the two. And therefore, for the sine, it's going to be mass velocity squared over r divided by mass dg. Okay? So if you do your mathematics, you're going to remain with a tan of the angle. It's going to be given by the velocity squared over rg. Because this cancel that, this change to tan, this cancel that, and then just going to remain with this. So this formula here, we're going to use it more often when we are asked to calculate what is the angle at which this object is bent in the curve. So this is the formula we are going to apply. And then we're going to talk about the vertical circular motion. All this calculation we've been talking about, all this time it was in horizontal. So you should be able to pick up an information in the problem. When they talk about vertical, automatically you need to apply this, is what I'm going to explain here. But everything else that is in horizontal, you solve it in horizontal. You apply those methods. But now, there will be a case where you are given a vertical circular motion. So you have a circle which is in vertical. Okay? And therefore, if there is an object, with this problem, what you need to know is just to pick up where this object is. The object can either be down, or the object can be up here, or the object can be on the left side, and then the object can be on that side. So you only have three cases, four positions, okay? So in the problem to be stated, it's on the top, bottom, left, or right. According to how the problem is stated, it's how you are going to solve this problem. So if it's on the top, what you are going to observe is that if the object is on the top, remember here we still have our centripetal force in the middle. Okay? And then on the top here, what we're going to observe, we're going to have that the net force is going where? Down, and as well, the weight is going down. Okay? And automatically, for this case, you're going to see that our centripetal force will be given by, we're still on the top, the two that are going to add each other because they are going increasing. In order for this body to be old, that side, this must be equal to that. And therefore we're going to have the net force plus our mass, J, and then the net force we know is given by what? Mass squared over the radius, or is the same as mass of the gravitational centripetal acceleration. First case. The second case is if the state it's in the bottom. In the bottom, what we're going to observe is that the net force will go where? Will go up, and then the mass will go, the weight will go down like this. And therefore, our centripetal force, when an object is at the bottom, it will be given by the net force minus mass G. Can you see? It's all about to identify what is the object. Once you identify what is the object, you can solve the problem anyway. Okay? And then we move on the left. Remember, this force, the net force must be here, must be in here, in order for this object to be all there. And then the weight is where? The weight is going here. So therefore the weight is negligible in this axis. And therefore our net centripetal force, in this case, when you're working there, is going to be given by our what do you call it? Our mass velocity squared over r, because we're gonna negligate that how do you call it? We are going to negligate this weight, okay? And then this is also applied when we are this side, because remember the net force will be here, and then as well the weight is there. So the centripetal force here will be just this equation. So this is the part that you need to keep in mind. As I said, if this problem is all identified, top, bottom. If they say vertically, you have to solve this. If they say horizontal, then you have to apply those other methods. So in the next coming video, we are going to explain now how to solve problems. It's going to be a problem solving case.